Hello and welcome to Culture Shark, a live stream about all things pop culture. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and today is the celebration of the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live. So we thought it would be cool, or maybe it was just a coincidence,
It was a
to look.
coincidence.
Yeah, we didn't know. um, to look at the movie from last year called Saturday Night, about the behind the scenes of the lead up to the first episode of Saturday Night Live. And then afterwards, we're going to look at some of our favorite skits, favorite cast members, hosts, and so on from Saturday Night Live. So, before we get to that, Caleb, how you been doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I've actually I've watched a lot of movies this weekend. So we went over to my parents' house on Friday, which apparently was Valentine's Day. Me and my brother were not aware of this. There's no reason for us to be aware of this.
Right.
But my parents, they had done something for lunch, and so we went over to their place for dinner. Um, and we usually go over their place about once a week, watch a movie, or if we're watching a show, we watch an episode of a show. And we were gonna start Penguin, but we're leaving for Florida next week. So at that point, it's just like, oh, let's wait until we get back to start a show. Um, so I suggested that we watch Saturday Night, but my dad's like, no, I wanted to watch something, maybe a little more funny, something your mom would be into,
Mhm.
uh, because I mean, he's right. Saturday Night is a funny movie, but like it's not a comedy. um,
Yeah, it's kind of a biopic.
yeah. So we watched Piece by Piece, which was the Pharrell Williams Lego movie.
Oh, okay. Is that any good?
That phenomenal.
Cool.
um, yeah, I'm gonna put that on the list. It's on Amazon Prime. It was really good.
Yeah. So I was planning on watching Saturday Night because it was on Netflix and then realized, oh, I had the wrong Netflix plan, so I'm not allowed to watch it. And so that was very frustrating. So
Yeah,
I did watch some.
well, I did have a question about that because I could watch it no problem, and I didn't think I had any sort of special plan. Are there different plans for Netflix?
Yeah, there's now a cheaper plan, which I'm on, where it plays ads before and
Okay,
after movies, and so that plan you get like all the Netflix original stuff and older movies, but anything that's like there's certain movies that are off limits.
okay,
It's weird, and it's kind
yeah,
of random because like I was gonna watch like 21 Jump Street or something the other day, and it was locked out, and I was like, well, that's an older movie, but okay, whatever.
really, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of random. So I don't know, something to do with the deals they have behind the scenes. So, um, anyhow, so I did get to see the most of it through. I only found one reaction to it on YouTube, which is weird. There's lots of reactions
I,
to the trailer, but only one reaction to the actual movie.
I
So,
mean, we'll get to it, but Saturday Night Live kind of isn't what it used to be.
well,
So,
I mean, but the original Saturday Night Live. I mean, this is the 50th anniversary. It was a major TV event, and that it's a cultural, what am I looking for? It's an
phenomenon.
important moment, yeah, in entertainment history.
Yeah.
Um, so for those who don't know, Saturday Night is, and this will be spoilers for stuff that really happened. Well, I assume most of this really happened. Uh, Saturday Night tells the story of Lorne Michaels trying to um, all the behind the scenes chaos of trying to get the first episode of Saturday Night Live on the air. And
It
it's kind of in real time, kind of, sorta.
kind of.
It's like an hour and a half or 2 hours before the actual broadcast. Although there's no way all this happened within 2 hours or whatever time it was supposed to be. Um,
And
and
I thought that it was going to be kind of like Birdman, but it wasn't because Birdman is in real time and it's also a one shot.
mhm.
This was not. Um, so just going to that thing, you know what I would describe this as? Uh, if 30 Rock was like if 30 Rock was an HBO show, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's weird is it doesn't really focus too much on the cast other than I think Chevy Chase and Belushi probably get the most time
Yeah.
from what I saw. The rest are just kind of background players. It's more about Lorne Michaels and the execs and him butting heads with everybody and everybody telling him that he can't do this. And Saturday Night Live, this is basically there was some negotiations going on with Johnny Carson about having a Saturday night show, I believe.
Yep.
And he was kind of balking, so they said, "Fine, we're gonna go with this other guy instead." This was just to, maybe get Johnny to lower his prices or something. They didn't expect this
Hmm.
to succeed. This was all just, negotiating tactics. And they were putting their fate in the hands of, I guess there's 7 cast members.
Yep.
So like 7 kids that, you know, all have their own egos and own, things going into this. And you're also putting George Carlin on there, which you don't know what he's going to do. And then you also have Jim Henson. So you have like you have both ends of the spectrum. You have
Yeah.
Jim Henson on one end and George Carlin on the other, and if you're an exec, you're just like, what are you doing?
Hmm.
And on paper, this should not work at all. To do several skits live in an hour and a half and have multiple costume changes and set changes, and this should not work at all. And it really reminded me of I did children's church for 10 years,
Yes.
and we would do puppet shows, and I would write scripts, and we would shoot videos, and there would be just, you didn't know if someone was going to be sick, or if people were puppeteers were fighting, or if kids were going to act up, or you didn't know what was going to happen. So each week was hectic chaos behind the scenes. You know if parents were going to get mad or what. You just didn't know what was going to happen each week, and it was just chaotic. So I feel. I mean, it was nowhere near as bad as Lorne Michaels had it here, but I feel his pain.
Hmm.
I
Well,
totally get it.
I would even compare it, just to make it a little bit broader, because we planted a church. It was planting a church is definitely different than
Yeah.
a church that's already established. So like, man, we would get to church at like church would start at 11. We'd get there at like 7,
Hmm.
and just like make sure that everything like it just like, I mean, anything behind the scenes is going to be like, it's so weird how relatable this movie is, just because this is just the nature of anything behind the scenes.
Yeah, and people think, oh, church just happens. I just go and there's a choir singing it, and we're gonna preach. And there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to
Hmm.
make all that happen. It's any TV show, any movie, things or sporting event, concert, whatever. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. So I found that part very interesting, and just how you know um, Willem Dafoe's character I thought was really interesting because he's kind of the villain, but he's kind of not. He's kind of like, don't let anything stop you, not even me.
Yeah.
If you really believe in this, then go for it. And I thought that was so interesting, especially at the end where he's trying to stop him, and he's kind of testing him, like, you got to believe in this. And I thought that was really interesting. Um, there's a lot of shenanigans with Belushi running around, but I mean, surely that didn't happen right up until the
Uh,
air. I don't know. I mean, there's just so many weird things in here that's happening that I'm like, okay, surely, yeah, that may have happened like the day before or something, but they're kind of compacting everything into this just hectic hour and a half before the airing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I think maybe the thing that you lost out on, because even before, even before the show started, you and I were talking how you didn't really get to watch the movie, and I was like, yeah, well, there's not a whole lot to it.
Hmm.
Um, One thing that you probably maybe missed was a lot of the performances, like Did anyone stick out to you?
So what I did was after I watched it, I also found a video on YouTube where they're comparing scenes from the movie to scenes from the first episode. So I got to see some more of the footage that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought the Chevy Chase guy was awesome.
So that was who I was going to bring up. Corey Michael Smith was phenomenal as Chevy Chase. Did you watch Gotham on Fox?
Not very long. I watched it a few episodes and then gave up.
Okay. Understandable. It's Law and Order until it's not.
Yeah.
Corey Michael Smith plays Edward Nigma. He plays the Riddler, and he's phenomenal as the Riddler. I think he's like the best Riddler we've ever gotten in live action. And so, and he's got a very distinct face, but also a very plain face. So while I'm watching it, I'm like, I know this guy from somewhere. And the whole time I'm like, I'm trying to figure this out, but I'm like, maybe he just looks a lot like Chevy Chase which he does. He does.
Yeah.
One thing that I thought was really funny, and I ended up thinking this as I'm watching it. So, J.K. Simmons plays a guy.
Milton Berle.
Yes. He's probably one of those older ones that I don't really know.
So, Milton Berle, I know from my, I'm older than you. I remember from my childhood, he was, one of those old guys always been on TV and making jokes, and everybody would laugh because, oh, it's Milton Berle. And then a few months ago, I was looking up like old TV shows, and when he says I controlled, I think what he said, like 85, 90% of the audience at one point. He's not lying. His show, it was called like the Texaco something, like it was like the early days of TV, but he had like a 90% share of the market, like the biggest show audience. Like it was ridiculous how popular that show was. But he is such a sleazeball and a creep, and he kind of, towards the end he came across like that. They always call him Uncle Milty, and I think he was the one that always dressed up as girls. I cannot remember. But he he really comes across as a sleazeball in this, and I think J.K. Simmons does a good job portraying that.
Oh, and you know what's funny? So what I was thinking as I was watching this is there's that one scene where he's actually, I believe he's hitting on Chevy's girlfriend, right? And he, Chevy confronts him about it, and he says, "You are nothing. I am everything. You're never going to amount to anything." I think that's where he says he controls the audience. And I could just imagine, like, if that actually happened, I could just imagine Chevy Chase thinking, not only am I going to become somebody, and I'm going to become one of the largest and movie actors of all time, but I'm also going to become more insufferable than you.
Yeah, so I just typed in Milton Berle cross-dressing, and this is what popped up. Yeah, he was known for wearing drag on the old show, and yeah, you can see how J.K. Simmons looks like him.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, yeah, so Chevy Chase, I'm gonna put allegedly is an egomaniac. And this, you kind of see the birth of that here, where everybody's like, "Oh, you're gonna be huge. You're gonna be this, that, whatever," and they're feeding into his ego. And Milton Berle's kind of giving him a little bit of a reality check, but that just spurs him on more. And famously, him and Bill Murray did not get along, which is weird because they're both in Caddyshack. I don't think they
never shared any scenes.
So they don't have any scenes. I couldn't remember if they had any scenes or not.
I don't think they have any scenes.
I think
together.
They have maybe one, because I just watched it the other day. I think there's just one quick scene.
If there's one scene, they don't talk to each other.
I think you're wrong, but anyhow, doesn't matter. They didn't get along, and it's interesting because you saw like Chevy Chase go on to do Three Amigos with Steve Martin and Martin Short, And if you know anything about Steve Martin, Martin Short, they are best friends. They never mention Chevy Chase. they just they just don't. Um, yeah, so Bill Murray and Caddyshack definitely or Bill Murray and Chevy Chase definitely have a scene where they have a conversation together because he's talking about his where Bill Murray's living and stuff. And
Oh, okay, gotcha.
yeah, so there's definitely a scene where they're together. But anyhow, they famously did not get along. Although I've heard stories about Bill Murray too, and who's to know, what's real and what's not. But Chevy Chase had his issues with Community, Dan Harmon, all that, and yeah. The guy playing Garrett, is he on Saturday Night Live now or was?
He was a writer. He's not on there anymore, I don't think, but he was a writer at one point.
Okay, I thought because he looked familiar. I should have looked him up, and I didn't.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Garrett Morris, right?
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry. Whenever you said Garrett, I thought you were talking about Garrett from Community.
Oh no.
Okay. So no. Garrett Morris is played by Lamorne Morris, who I'm not sure if they're related, but they look exactly the same, and that's not a race thing. But Lamorne Morris played Winston on New Girl.
Okay, I never watched New Girl, although everybody tells me I should be watching it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I enjoyed this. Like I said, I find the behind the scenes stuff fascinating. It's amazing that any movie ever gets made with all these egos clashing into each other and creative differences and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought this was pretty cool. I like, I'm a big Jim Henson fan. I don't think Jim Henson was that hippie-ish and down to earth and stuff.
He might have been. We don't know.
He could have been, but I mean, the original episode or original title for the Muppet Show was going to be Sex and Violence, and that was the joke, is that they were not, sex and violence. But, yeah, I don't know. Have you ever heard the story about him and them asking him if they could put the Muppet Babies on diapers?
No.
And he goes, "You want babies to crap all over my characters?"
That's really funny.
And they're like, "What? He's like, "Where do I sign?"
That's great. Actually, so fun fact: the guy who plays Henson, Nicholas Braun, he was a Disney kid. I grew up watching him. He was on like the DComs. Do you remember Sky High?
Yes.
He played Zack Attack. He was the guy who could glow in the dark.
Okay, he had like crazy hair, didn't he, in that movie?
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Yeah. He had white spiky hair and wore a visor.
Yeah. He actually plays two characters in this
yes, he
movie.
Does.
Yeah. And Andy Kaufman and the famous Mighty Mouse skit.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I enjoyed it. There's not like you said, there's not a whole lot here, but it's fun to see the behind the scenes, and I liked all the stuff with the censor and George Carlin and and all that. I thought that was fun.
You know what's funny? I guess I don't know. All I know is like George Carlin was like I always assumed that George Carlin was like what Bill Burr would be like if he was more liberal.
Mm-hmm.
But Carlin, even himself here, seems like an egomaniac, you know?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And George Carlin's bits are amazing. And at the time, they were considered liberal. And now I don't know if the zeitgeist has flipped, and now he may be more. I don't know if he'd call himself conservative, but he would be making fun of the really out there left, the ones that are way out there. Yeah, if you've never listened to some classic George Carlin, they are amazing. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and it's fun how there's other big actors who will one day be big time in the background, like Billy Crystal and stuff are there, and I just think it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So Saturday Night Live, the little show that could.
Yeah. And I will say that I liked it as well. I watched, like I said, I watched a lot of movies this weekend. I actually showed my cousin The Matrix for the first time as well.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, what I will say is, out of all of the movies that I watched this weekend, this one was probably like I like Piece by Piece more
Mm-hmm.
as a film and whatnot. Um, but I definitely liked it. I don't know. I don't know if it's one that I'll revisit.
Mm-hmm.
But it also doesn't seem like one of those movies that you would revisit.
Right.
Like it's not it. It is not funny, but like there are certain scenes that I like that I may watch on YouTube. Like, uh, did you catch that one scene where Lorne is meeting the execs for the first time, and so Chevy gets up there and kind of warms them up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like he just he does kind of like a roast, and he says, New York, very diverse. If you want to see black people, go to Harlem. You want to see Jews, go to our writers' room. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's where I'm like, oh man, this guy is Chevy Chase.
Yeah. He was really good. I don't know if it's Oscar worthy, but he's definitely
No,
like I thought he was. I think out of everybody, he was maybe the
he was the standout for me.
the guy doing Aykroyd was good, but he's not in it much.
Yeah,
You'll
which
see that a lot. So
which honestly, ironically, out of everyone in the original cast,
mhm.
I think Dan Aykroyd is the one who is like the most out there. um and so there's really not a whole lot to do with him.
Well, but he also seems to be very. I was gonna say showbiz minded, but I don't know if that's the right term. I mean, yes, he is out there with all his holistic, spiritual, whatever beliefs,
One,
but
he
he.
definitely believes in ghosts.
Yeah. But then
Ghostbusters is a
also,
documentary.
but he also like knows how to make a. I guess later on he knows how to make a movie, and he's very wise about how the business works. So maybe not at this point, but later on in his life, he wrote Ghostbusters and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
anyhow, yeah, I enjoyed this. I think it'd be cool to see other movies like this, like what was it like behind the Muppet Show or Sesame Street or whatever. I think there's other types of stories that I would be curious about.
Did you ever watch the Muppet Show that was on NBC?
I I never got into it, which is weird
Well,
because I usually watch all things Muppets,
yeah.
but that one was just so different.
Well, it's because I was gonna say, like, I mean, if this is kind of like, so 30 Rock is a show that is basically like, uh, 30 Rock is a show that basically, uh, you know, here's behind the scenes of SNL, but it's on NBC and it's more funny than anything. The Muppet
Mhm.
Show on NBC, it was just 30 Rock with Muppets.
Yeah, it was kind of
So
that. I don't remember what they call it. That camera interview
candid
stuff.
camera. No.
No, there's a term for it. I can't remember what it's called,
Oh,
but
Talking Head.
yeah, like The Office and
Yeah,
Modern Family and all that. Um,
mockumentary.
yeah. Um, which
There's
I
a
get
lot of
kind of
names.
I get kind of tired of that after a while. Although it was really cool when they did it in the comic books, and this may have been before a lot of them were doing it on TV shows. In Guardians of the Galaxy, the Abnett Landing run did that all the time.
Oh, I didn't. I see. I still need to read that stuff.
Yeah, they do like interviews before and after the missions and stuff. So you get like everybody's perspectives of what was happening during the missions and stuff. So it's a lot of fun. Um, Cool. So that was our look at Saturday Night. I would, if you're a fan of Saturday Night Live or you're curious about how TV shows are made, I definitely recommend it.
Mm.
Like we said, we don't know if it's all 100% true, but Dan Aykroyd said it was. Chevy Chase says it wasn't. So
Yeah, but
who's to
once
know?
again, Dan Aykroyd is out there.
And Chevy Chase hates everybody, so you don't know.
um.
So,
Okay, so
So we
Oh,
thought
what
it
was I
would
gonna say?
be
Oh,
cool. Oh,
I
go
was
go
about to say
ahead.
one. Yeah, I remember what I was about to say. I will say, if you're not a fan of Saturday Night Live, like at all, like there's I'm not a fan of Saturday Night Live now. I know some people that aren't fans of Saturday Night Live then because it's just a little older. If Saturday Night Live is just not your thing and you never got into it, I don't know if this is the movie for you because I don't know if you'll get anything out of it.
Yeah, Saturday Night Live's it's interesting. I think it's one of those things. If you discover it when you're a teenager, whatever that era is, will be your favorite era, and
Yeah,
then you won't like you'll appreciate the older stuff, and you may or may not like the newer stuff. Saturday Night Live goes through phases where it's either
yeah.
good, it's either really, really good, or it's kind of rebuilding gear. So we thought it'd be cool to pick out some of our favorites. Uh, I try to give the modern stuff a chance, but I don't watch the whole episodes like I used to when I was a kid. Usually, if just
I
a skit catches on, I'll jump in.
I don't think anybody watches the whole episodes anymore. I think YouTube has kind of done away with that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I grew up during the '90s era. Wayne's World was huge, and so like the Dana Carvey, Phil Hartman, Chris Farley, Adam Sandler, that era. That's my favorite era.
Yeah.
Um,
I grew up with I grew up with like the digital shorts era, where it's like Andy
uh
Samberg, Bill Hader, Jason Sudeikis, Kate McKinnon, um, a little bit of the Pete Davidson, although I never found him funny.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but and then Keenan Thompson has just always been there, and for some reason he won't move on.
It's interesting because when I was a kid, Tracy Morgan was not Tracy Morgan. Shoot, what Tim Meadows was the one that just seemed to always stick around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
love, and I we'll get there.
Tim
Tim
Meadows is
Meadows.
hilarious.
He was a contender for my top five. But then again, there's a lot of contenders for my top five.
Yeah. And what's weird is a lot of the people I didn't pick for top five you picked. So I think we got a decent-ish list of
Yeah.
good
Mhm.
skits and good hosts. So let's go ahead and start pulling up our lists here.
So I went ahead. I made it more collage style. So
Okay.
this we're gonna start off with your top five. Uh, your top five cast members.
Yeah, I almost had Kate McKinnon on here, but Dana Carvey was my favorite at the time. I don't know if I like him as much as I did, but at the time, his George Bush impersonation everybody loved, and he was just a funny guy. So I put
I
him at my number five.
Yeah. I was one thing about Dana Carvey. It turns out that for the past 4 or 5 years, he's had a great Biden, and they just never used him.
Yeah, yeah,
So
they were trying not to be political for whatever reason during the Biden years, which is weird because it's Saturday Night Live.
yeah,
So, um, and then the Dana Carvey show. It's weird. Dana Carvey, he's one of those people that should be like a mega star, and he's not.
so this is where we find out that one bad movie can
Yeah,
ruin your whole career.
yeah, yeah.
For those of you who have never seen it, I envy you. I watched it as a kid when it first came
I
out.
watched it several times as a kid. Yeah, Master of Disguise is. Oof.
Yeah, yeah, that was something.
Yeah.
Actually, so Cameron would kill me if I didn't talk about this. Talk about this little nugget of Dana Carvey history. Um, so they were filming Master of Disguise in 2001.
Yep.
And Dana Carvey
A
has
day
gone
in
on.
a day in September.
Yeah. Dana Carvey has gone on record saying that he was in the turtle costume on 9/11 and he was watching the news in the turtle costume.
And that could have affected the movie. That could be why this movie's just kind of phoned in, kind of like, okay, yeah,
Maybe,
whatever.
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't know that for a fact, but it's an odd movie. He's done better movies.
Wayne's World.
Well, the Wayne's World movies, but there was someone. Shoot, I cannot remember the name of it, where he has the short-term memory loss.
I don't know that one.
Oh, it's funny. But anyhow, yeah, I put him as my number 5 pick. So for number 4, I picked Phil Hartman, and to me, Phil Hartman was like the perfect SNL cast member. Clean Slate is the movie I'm thinking of with Dana Carvey, where he has every time he falls asleep, he forgets everything, and he's trying to testify in a murder trial. It's fun.
That's really funny.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. And he has to leave like notes to himself, like your name is so and so, and tape recording, and here's your testimony, and oops, he taped over the testimony. So now he doesn't know what the testimony, but it's a fun movie.
Oh, so it's Memento the comedy.
Yeah, this was way before Memento. Yeah, yes. If a Memento was a comedy with a Jack Russell Terrier and Dana Carvey, yes, that is what this is. But Phil Hartman was awesome. I was so upset when he passed away, in such a tragic, stupid way. I'm
not familiar.
You're not familiar? Okay, so Andy Dick got allegedly got Phil Hartman's wife addicted to cocaine, and one night she shot him and shot herself.
Oh, wow.
And John Lovitz beat the crap out of Andy Dick in a club. So
John Lovitz?
Yes.
The guy who sounds like this?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Andy Dick came up to him smarting off about, yeah, I got Phil Hartman killed, huh? And he grabbed him, like slammed his head down into the table. It just... Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's... Wow. What a story, Mark.
Yeah, so that was our story for Dana Carvey, then our story for Phil Hartman. Let's talk about Chris Farley.
Oh my God. Oh man, yeah. I mean, that's you know what it is. You could make a Saturday night movie for every single one of the cast members.
Yeah.
The Saturday Night Cinematic Universe.
And no one talks about Charlie Rocket. He killed himself. There's
jeez.
Yeah. Anyhow, Chris Farley
50,
also
haha, funny.
Yeah, hey. Chris Farley again gone too soon, but I mean, the warning signs were there. He was following Belushi's path, and it just happened.
Mm-hmm.
Very funny. If you've never seen his intro on the Dave Letterman show, where he just goes berserk, running up and down the aisles, doing cartwheels and stuff, it's hilarious.
Ironically, I think my favorite Chris Farley role, I think it's Billy Madison, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow.
That Veronica Vaughn is one piece of ace.
I know a guy. No, you don't. Well,
but
you can imagine.
You can imagine, but what if they did, right? Oh my gosh. Oh man, he's great. I love Tommy Boy. I love David Spade, and so I feel like we wouldn't have David Spade without Chris Farley.
Oh yeah. They definitely were the perfect pair, and Billy Madison's an interesting movie. There's people that either love it or doesn't, or no one mentions it, and I'm like, I really think that's like one of Adam Sandler's best movies. Yeah, I really do.
Mean, it is one of the two namesakes for his production company.
Yeah, it's like there's so many great quotes in that movie, and I just don't know. Like someone will do like the top 20 Adam Sandler movies. They don't even mention Billy Madison.
Yeah, that's insane. I'm like, I think
Bill
the best
Hader.
line.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I must have cut out when I was talking. But I think that the best line from Billy Madison is probably if peeing in your pants is cool, then I'm Miles Davis. That is the
Right.
most disgusting thing I've ever heard.
Everybody on the bus. Yeah. Bill Hader was one that, there was times where I wasn't watching Night Live, so I kind of missed all the Bill Hader stuff and kind of discovered it recently. I think he's very funny.
Yes.
Um,
I will say that I made my list intentionally like I just look at your list and I made sure so we could talk about 10 people.
right.
Bill Hader is my number one.
Yeah.
So we'll everything that I say, just put him one rung below what I say,
Yeah. Yeah. And then for my number one, like I said, Nice was my favorite ever. I put Krista Wiig as number one. She is hilarious. Um, there's a people have said to me in the past, I've had conversations where people are like, well, women just aren't funny, and I think Krista Wiig is the nope, women are funny. You're
Yeah.
wrong, and she is just hilarious, and her
I mean,
impersonations are so good.
absolutely. And I mean, I think there are plenty of women on SNL that
Yeah,
that argue
I
against that.
I disagree with
Um,
that statement 100%. But
mhm.
people say that to me, I go, Krista Wiig.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
What are you talking about?
And I, I mean, Bridesmaids, just one of the greatest comedies of all time. She's great in that. You know, I part of me is like, oh, what if she was a good cheetah in Wonder Woman? Like, um,
And
because
I was gonna say it's weird. She's another one that she's had a little bit of success with movies, but not like how I feel like she should be having. I think she should be a bigger star.
yeah.
So,
I would say my favorite impression for hers was uh, oh, it was on Celebrity Jeopardy. I think she was uh, Kathy. I don't know. I can't.
Kathy Lee Gifford.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like just up there like drinking, and she got wine. This is like, and she keeps looking at the she keeps looking at the audience saying, I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like my favorite of that though is going to Final Jeopardy. It is nonsense words. Just make up a word that doesn't make any sense. And she writes down Hoda Kotb. She's like, that is not a nonsense word. That is your co-host. She's like, Hoda Kotb, that's nonsense.
When I grew up, my parents, or my mom at least, watched Regis and Kathy Lee religiously, like every day. So I'm well familiar with Kathy Lee Gifford. So her impersonation is hilarious. So
Anyway, so moving on to my collage.
mhm.
So I didn't actually put them in any sort of order, but at the same time, these will be the order that I thought of them in. So I guess in a way, it's my top five. So we'll start by number five. Norm Macdonald. Um, I think it's hilarious that Norm Macdonald got fired from SNL.
Mhm.
And it's one of those things that, like, I think Norm Macdonald is hilarious. I get it. I know why he was. I understand why he was fired. Here's the thing: he was fired for two reasons, and I understand both of them. Because there was, the OJ stuff, which is what I think is the most legendary. um, but also, like, Norm just has such a. You either get it or you don't with Norm
Yeah.
Macdonald. You know what I mean? There's there's the roast of Bob Saget, and he was on it. And so,
Yeah.
for those who don't know, Comedy Central roast, you're supposed to say the most vile, vulgar things about the guest of honor.
Mhm.
And so he gets up there, and it's Norm Macdonald. Everyone is expecting him to just go for blood. And so he gets up there, and apparently he gets all his jokes out of like a beginner's joke book. And he's like, oh, and that's another thing is nobody can do a Norm Macdonald impression. I've never heard a good Norm Macdonald impression, because I don't. There's something about his voice. Just
It's his delivery. It's 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 crazy.
But he says something like, Caroline, she says that she's a vegetarian, but I think she's full of baloney. And like this is a Comedy Central roast, and he's not even making fun of Saget. He's just making fun of the concept of roasts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then yes, of course, I love his weekend up. Actually, another thing, if you've ever seen Celebrity Jeopardy and his Burt Reynolds impression is horrible, and that's why it's funny.
Yeah. And it's so sad that he got fired because they were going to have the real Burt Reynolds confront him in an episode, and they never got to do it. Like,
Yeah.
about the big hats.
Yeah.
It would have been great.
But yeah, so I mean, I you'll find out that as we go through, I'm a big fan of Weekend Update. And so, his Weekend Update, he always said that the perfect joke, he always said that the perfect joke was where the setup and the punchline were the same. Which was one of them was I think it was Christy Brinkley or something like that. Lyle Lovett and Lyle Lovett and Christy Brinkley are going through divorce, and Christy Brinkley said that she knew that there was troubles in the marriage when she realized that she was Christy Brinkley and he was Lyle Lovett. Like, just
I think it's not Julia Roberts and Lyle Lovett.
It was Julia Roberts. That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah. The perfect joke is where the setup and the punchline are the same.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
And so that's what Norm would always say. My number. Go ahead.
I was gonna say he's really funny on Conan O'Brien. Also, those are are legendary. So
I mean, he sort of pioneered the idea of the. Like we have so many comedians that have their own podcasts now, and he kind of pioneered that.
Yeah,
because he would have some people on, and like he would write jokes, and he would make other people say it because they were funny jokes, but they were super in poor taste and offensive. So he'd just have other people say the jokes, and it was really funny. But so my number 4 is Will Ferrell. I think if we're talking about objectivity, I don't think there's an argument where at this point Will Ferrell is probably the most well-known famous person to come out of SNL. I
don't know if I agree with that, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I'm even talking about like staying power as well. Like Bill Murray, huge, but I mean, like at this point, he's just doing like your indie films and whatnot.
Yeah, but he's been around since the 70s.
Yeah,
I feel like modern Will Ferrell is not as good as classic Will Ferrell, if that makes sense. Like I feel like there's been a decline in his performances. I don't know. That's me,
I just think he's been going more not kid friendly, but less. Like Daddy's Home, which sure. But yeah, I mean, maybe even I don't know, success wise, or Will Ferrell is at least one of them. And I would say that Will Ferrell kind of carried the 90s through SNL.
Oh, yeah.
he's got he was Alex Trebek on Celebrity Jeopardy. He's
His
got
Harry Carey impersonation is hilarious.
yes.
Maybe should have been on my list now that I'm thinking about it. So
um, there is uh the thinker or the
think,
stinker.
yeah.
My dad wanted me to say this. My dad's favorite SNL skit of all time is the most patriotic man in the workplace,
Hmm.
where Sean William Scott um, is like the boss, and he put out a memo that everyone should wear a little bit of a patriotism in the office this week. And so Will Ferrell comes in um, with with a cutoff shirt that says USA and
Hmm.
a red, white, and blue speedo.
Yep.
And like it, I mean, it's just so funny. He's also uh, got Jingleheimer Junction, where he plays Fred Friendship, and I don't know. Will Ferrell is it's so weird because I would compare him to Bill Murray, especially in the fact that they got their start on SNL, but they eventually got bigger than SNL, and you would never like. There are people that don't know that they were on SNL, you know.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
um,
Yeah. Some of their bigger stars, Billy Crystal, Eddie Murphy, and stuff. People forget. Oh yeah, they were on Saturday Night Live.
yeah.
So yeah.
And then there's some people who are like, oh wait, they were like Steve Carell was not on Saturday Night Live, but
Right.
people think so. Um, my number three, Kate McKinnon. I think like I said, there are a lot of women comedians that are funny on SNL, and I think everyone would have like their favorite. I think, in my opinion, I think Kate McKinnon is the best. Um, she is just so weird, um, and that's kind of what she's got going for her. There was her. Um, have you ever seen the Vanessa McBrayer Totino's pizza roll commercials? Where like and then it
Where
turns out
she's
that
like making out with the girl from Twilight. That
yeah,
was.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so she's Kate McKinnon plays. No, it actually was. Okay, never mind. I thought it was Kate McKinnon doing an impression of Kristen
No,
Stewart.
it's
But I think
her.
it
No,
actually
it
was
is her.
Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, it's Kristen Stewart.
Regardless, so I'll just get to why she's on my list because I was kind of building up to it, but honestly, it's the Close Encounters.
Yeah, yeah. They're very
Close
funny.
Encounters are just the some of the best that they've ever done. My mom loves them. Kate McKinnon's probably my mom's favorite cast member. Because
Mhm.
like she loves her in other movies. Like she loved her in Barbie, and then there was The Spy Who Dumped Me. She loved her
Mhm.
in that. Um, but like it's like it's like yeah, they just put me on top of a Long John Silver's with my coot and my prune shoot. I felt bad for the 17-year-old who had to open up shop and get me down.
Yeah, I like. There's a very underrated skit that she's in, the Australian Screen Legends, that makes me laugh. Where
Oh
she's being a
yes,
really bad Australian actress, and
yes.
when she's dying, she goes, "Kangaroo," I guess. Her last words. So funny.
So number two for me is Andy Samberg. Um, I don't think people realize the importance of digital shorts as much as they are.
Hmm.
Um, the digital shorts are so important, um, and they had that's another way that they got. I think that's why they started using the musical guest for more than just um, being the musical guest was in the digital shorts
Hmm.
because you got it was really Timberlake that you got doing like Dick in a Box or Mother Lover. um, and I mean,
Yeah,
let's be honest. Threw It on the Ground is the greatest thing that's ever come out of
Threw It
SNL
on the
ever.
Ground is amazing. Yeah. Um, I think shorts have always been part of SNL's DNA, from Mr. Bill to the Muppets to Jack Handy, and who there was a guy that did all those weird cartoons.
Not sure.
The one, what was it? He always go, "Give me back my show" at the end. Shoot, the one
No, I don't
that's where they came
know.
up, the ambiguously gay duo and all that.
Oh yes, yeah.
You know what I'm
The
talking about?
ambiguously gay duo.
Yeah, yeah.
I know who you're talking about. I don't know his name.
Spiegel cartoons or something like that.
Some,
Saturday Morning Funhouse. Is that what it was? Saturday Morning Funhouse. Yeah, yeah.
maybe.
Anyhow, some of those are really strange sometimes, but sometimes they're funny. But yeah, I think shorts have always been important. I mean, it's kind of almost like they invented viral videos, almost like Mr. Bill and all that. That
Mhm.
was before internet, of course, but it was kind of like that thing you would tell your friend about. Did you see Mr. Bill? Did you see Jack Candy,
Mhm.
or whatever? So, yeah.
But yeah, I think it was Andy Samberg and the Lonely Island that really, maybe not. I may have said pioneered, maybe not pioneered, but they're the ones that like really perfected it, and like, they were also around at the right time because the internet
Yeah.
was becoming a thing, and so like, Dear
I,
Sister.
I think they were important to keep Saturday Night Live relevant. That they came along at the right time to keep it relevant in the digital
Mhm.
age. Is
Yeah.
Dear Sister the one where everybody keeps getting shot?
Yeah.
I love that skit. That skit's
Yeah.
hilarious.
And you know what's the funniest thing is that skit is actually, and it's got Shia LaBeouf in it. I think it's got
Hmm.
Bill Hader in it. And,
Yeah.
but the funniest thing about that digital short is nobody knows what it's parodying anymore because
Yeah, I've seen the original. I don't remember what it was, but there's some.
it was the OC.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was an MTV drama show called The OC, or was it WB? I don't know. It
It
was
may
one of
have
those.
been.
It was one of those teen drama shows
Yeah.
where someone gets shot and that goes, "What you say?" And so
Yeah.
they just keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to one of my favorites whenever, because I do have a digital short on my top 5, so we'll get
Hmm.
to that. And then my number one, which, like I said, Bill Hader's probably actually my number one, but uh, like I said, I love Weekend Update. I love Seth Meyers. Part of the reason I love Bill Hader is just because the single greatest character, in my opinion, to come out of SNL is Stefan. I love Stefan. Um,
What's weird is I never really got Stefan. I don't usually
really?
watch the Weekend Update stuff.
Okay,
So you
gotcha.
showing me these clips of
The joke swaps.
the joke swaps. I'm going to go back and watch those now.
Yeah.
Those are pretty funny.
So Colin Jost and Michael Shea, um, are honestly, they're the ones that are kind of keeping SNL afloat right now, because I believe that Jost and Shea, at one point they were head writers, but then they stepped down as head writers and they're still doing Weekend Update. And that's around the time that I kind of thought that I'm like, oh, SNL's getting bad now. Um, but I don't know. I just, more so than any other co-hosts on a Weekend Update, I definitely think these guys are like best friends, and that's kind of what I love about
Hmm.
them. Um, and I mean, yeah, the joke swaps are hilarious. I don't know how it took them 45 years to come up with joke swaps. But it's just the best thing that they've ever come up with on one of the best things they've ever come up with on Weekend Update. Um, so yeah, that's gonna be my top 5. I love, and I put Jost and Shea as one person because it's Weekend Update, and that's really all they do. Like, they're not in skits. Weekend Update is kind of their thing, and it's both of them. So for me, they're gonna count as one cast member.
Gotcha. So now
Yeah.
we're gonna move on to skits. And here's the thing about Saturday Night Live. I think about 85% of their skits are crap. But the 15% that are good are really, really good.
And for those of you who are doing math, yes, that equals to 125% of skits.
Yes. Sure. What did I say? What did I
You
say?
said you said 85. Oh, I thought you said 85 and 50.
Oh no, I said 15%.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Okay, yeah. Well, we'll take
Okay.
125%. No,
Yeah, sure.
when I say crap, I mean some of them are okay, or they're just repeating old skits over and over. But I think that we're looking for the gems here, and so we picked some of our gems, and there's several more we could have put on these lists.
Yes.
We wanted to prune down the list, so it was just 5 from each of us.
And this list for me changes every day.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I keep thinking, oh, I forgot about this one or that one. So there are really great skits, but then there's really really bad ones.
Yeah.
so let's get
And
to go ahead.
sometimes the really bad ones are the most memorable. Like
Mhm.
I can never stop thinking about what I think is the worst skit in a SNL history, and I actually got to see that one live. And I don't know why. I think I was watching a movie in the basement, when I was probably about
Uh-huh.
19 or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and I, finished the movie, turn it on TV, and SNL was on. I was like, oh, SNL's about to go off. Alec Baldwin is the host. Let's see what's going on. And so this was the last skit of the night,
Hmm.
and it was Alec Baldwin as a coach. And I don't remember who played the kid, but he was going to break the world record of the most sit-ups. And so, he keeps going, and then he just starts farting for every sit-up. And that was the skit.
That was the whole skit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you
And
ever
I'm
seen the where they talk about the Steven Seagal episode? How it's the worst episode?
yes. And that doesn't surprise me because Steven Seagal is a pretty weird guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you know that he's actually a badge holding police officer in
Yes.
Louisiana?
Yes, I'm aware. I am aware. Yeah, so usually the best skits are early on in the night, and then the crap is towards the end.
Yeah. Pretty much once you I think it really goes like before and after the musical guest. That's how I view it.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to our favorite skits. All right. So for my number 5, Martin Short and Harry Shearer, I think it is,
Mhm.
doing synchronized swimming is just one of the funniest things. I laugh every time I see this. Uh, they're going to start a male synchronized swimming in the Olympics, and the funny thing is Martin Short can't swim, so he's got this little life jacket on, and it's just the dance moves are so funny, and it's just really pointing out how ridiculous synchronized swimming is. And Christopher Guest is in it. He's teaching them like we're going to be on Lake Yamaguchi or whatever he says. He's got the little oar. They make him do the oar motion and all this. It's so funny.
So I didn't realize that you were like a big Martin Short fan.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
have you? Because I started watching this probably in the past month. I've binged through the first 2 seasons. Have you seen Only Murders in the Building?
I have not, and it's really weird because that should be right up my alley, and I have not watched it.
It is. I mean, it's one of those that I started watching myself because my dad is actually not a Martin Short fan.
Uh huh.
And so that's one of those I was like, oh, I guess I'll watch it myself. I grew up with Selena Gomez. I've always had a crush on her, so I'll watch this. It's really good, and Martin Short is kind of the standout.
Yeah. I think Jimmy Glick is one of the funniest characters. He kills me. Jimmy Glick does.
Ironically, what's going to show my age? My introduction to Martin Short was the Santa Claus 3 as Jack
Wow.
Frost.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up with him as Ed Grimley and everything, and I've seen him in several movies. Three Amigos was such a huge hit when I was a kid, and yeah. Number 4, these are not online. It drives me crazy. But Tom Hanks used to do a character called Short Term Memory Guy, and they're so funny.
Yeah, I was not familiar. I had trouble finding a picture, honestly.
Yeah, the only clip I found, it was a very short clip that was on Facebook, like this on YouTube at all. And basically, the funniest one to me is when he goes on a game show, and let's say his name is Cliff. I can't remember his name is. They're like, so like Phil Hartman's the host. He's like, okay, Cliff, we're on, to tell the truth or whatever, and tell us about yourself. He goes, well, I'm Cliff. I'm from Montana or whatever. And I go, okay, great. And they go on the next person. And finally they go, hey, we're on To Tell the Truth. He goes, To Tell the Truth, I love that show. He's like, well, I'm Cliff. I'm from Montana. He'll keep repeating it over and over. And somehow he wins. He goes to the bonus round where he gets to be a celebrity. And so they bring out Tony Randall. He goes, hey, you're Tony Randall. And so they start asking questions stuff. Also, he'll try and go, hey, you're Tony Randall. And he just keeps doing it over and over. Tom Hanks is just funny anyways, and it is hilarious. So that's something me and my brother do all the time. We'll go, hey, you're Tony Randall.
You know what's funny? I didn't realize that. I mean, I guess 2 is a coincidence, 3 makes a pattern. Tom Hanks is really funny on SNL when they do game shows.
Yes, he is.
Because he was his Celebrity Jeopardy, where he's got his hand stuck in a pickle jar. It's like he's like, I was like, well, why'd you do that? I wanted a pickle. And then he's like, Mr. Hanks, you have to let go of the pickle if we're going to continue playing. And that's what your mother said last night, Trebek.
Game shows in general on Saturday Night Live are always funny. I'm a big fan of the Chris Farley going on the Japanese game show, and that almost made my list.
And then also with Tom, I mean, in general, I think Black Jeopardy is like phenomenal. Welcome to Black Jeopardy. and then like, I think the Tom Hanks one is like one of the greatest things because it actually shows like, I mean, let's just accept stereotypes for a second so I can talk about this. How black people and your trailer park white people hate each other and yet have so much in common.
Yeah,
I'm like that's just one of my favorite Black Jeopardies. Is like, I love those Medea movies. I bought myself a collection out there at Walmart, and if I can laugh and pray in 90 minutes, that is money well spent. Oh yeah, it's weird to think about, like, because I think we're kind of getting to the point where Tom Hanks is kind of a serious actor, but like he's really funny.
Yes, he's very funny. You know what's weird? Just get off topic for a second. Tom Hanks was not their first pick to play Woody in Toy Story.
Really?
They offered it to Billy Crystal, and he turned it down. And you can just imagine how different those movies would be with Billy Crystal as Woody. It would not be.
I mean, if you really want to imagine it, you just put Mike Wazowski's voice over Woody's. Like, put that thing back where it came from, or so help me.
Yeah, I just can't see the chemistry between him and Tim Allen. I can't picture it.
Well, and it's so weird because I don't know if this is just a like a me thing in which in a generation I grew up. I kind of I equate Tom Hanks and Tim Allen as peanut butter and jelly, 2 peas in a pod. Like that, they're not in a whole lot together, but in a way, they are kind of the comedy bromance.
Sure. Yeah. I get it. Toy Story's been around since the 90s.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Up next is a skit I did not discover until a few months ago, but I love it. The Falconeer time travel skit.
I had not heard of it until you said something about it.
Did you watch it?
I did. Yeah.
It is brilliant because it uses like the entire cast and everybody. Basically, he keeps time traveling back and forth to stop his Falcon from getting shot. and they keep messing up. So every time the number of Falconeers multiplies,
Yeah.
and everybody's doing an impersonation of the Falconeer character, except for Kristen Wiig's like the last one they add, and she doesn't really do an impersonation, which is weird because she's normally the one that does impersonation.
Yeah.
But it just gets more and more ridiculous. What's her name? Rachel Dretch.
Rachel Dratch.
Dratch. She does an impersonation. Amy Poehler, Kevin Spacey. It's crazy, and it just keeps getting more. And everybody is like perfectly in sync, all saying the same lines together. It is just from a technical standpoint, it's incredible.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Rachel Dratch, so I'm the CLS worker for my cousin Malachi, and we were talking about this the other day, and he wanted me to mention that his favorite skits were always Debbie Downer. He
Yeah.
loves Debbie Downer.
Debbie Downer. My mom's name is Debbie, and we call her Debbie Downer all the time. So, yeah,
which Will Forte is one of those. I mean, honestly, he's one of those. It's like how. I mean, I know he had his own TV show, but like I didn't watch it, and I don't think anybody else did either.
First few episodes I watched, yeah.
But I'm just like, how do we not have more Will Forte? You know?
Yeah, and it's sad that Coyote versus Acme got canceled because I think it would have been
because that was him. Yeah,
yeah, it would have been a big movie, and it's a shame it got canceled.
I mean, that probably would have made him somebody. I'm not saying he's not anybody, but I'm like,
it would have helped.
He's yeah. I mean, like he's not even an Andy. He's definitely not a Will Ferrell, but he's not even an Andy Samberg. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of people don't know about this Falconeer skit. Check it out. It's hilarious. Number 2, this made me a Kristen Wiig fan. The Doonie skit. I love this skit. I quote it all the time. It's so funny. Those old Lawrence Welk shows on PBS. You know, if you've ever seen it, this is what it was. You know, these weird musical numbers and but yeah, just the little baby hand she has, and that they've. It's just so funny that they've done this joke several times. Like I don't like it when they add the other character that's a beaver or whatever. It's not as funny, but when it's just her, it's just God, it's funny, and just Will Ferrell's reactions to her every time it's cracks me up. I could watch this several times and still laugh at it every time.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites, and it's also one of those that like. So there's a lot, and I think we'll get into this a little bit at the end because I did kind of want to talk about why SNL doesn't work anymore because I do think there's a reason for that. But I think a lot of people wouldn't get the Doonies just because, like, I don't think people know about these PBS shows anymore, honestly.
Yeah. It's definitely something that, especially my generation before that didn't have cable, you would just find these weird shows on PBS, and it was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Or if you were staying with your grandparents or something, they'd be watching it. You're like, what? My number 1 is the Chris Farley hidden camera coffee skit. These commercials were everywhere when I was a kid about, we secretly replaced so-and-so's coffee with this other brand. Let's see if they notice. And these commercials were just everywhere.
They still do that with like Domino's or whatnot. Is like, what if I told you that this actually was Burger King?
Right, yeah. And so just him having this over the top reaction, you SOB, and just going nuts and just beating everybody up and starting a huge pie fight, and him just screaming, "I will end you! I will destroy you!" It's so funny. I laugh every time.
I think that was kind of Chris Farley's like shtick. Is let's be honest. Usually with a fat guy, he's kind of like the holly jolly fat guy, like Santa. Chris Farley was the angriest fat guy, and it was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Get
just
a van down by the river.
just the pie fight that breaks out, and
Yeah.
it's just and them just smashing him over the head over and over. They can't stop him. It's so funny. Um, yeah, so these are just 5 of my favorites. I could have listed 20 skits easily.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
but yeah, these
I,
are great.
I mean, even myself, I'm gonna stick to the list that I made, but
Mhm.
like there even when I was talking to my mom and dad about this on Friday, uh, I thought of one, and I'm like, which I love Matt Shat. Matt Shat's not on my list. It should be. Have you seen that one?
I don't think so, or
M-
I'm not recalling off the top of my head.
Matt Shat is a newer one where it's this dorky guy with like glasses and Crocs with socks, um, and like he just and he's married to Margot Robbie. And so they're on the news for like a sinkhole, but Keenan Thompson's just like, wait, so you're married
Yes,
to
I
her?
have seen those. Yes, yes, I have. I have seen those.
I'm a big fan of those. That probably should be my number five, but it's not. My number five is uh, the world's most evil invention, which is my brother's number one. And I think we're far enough into the podcast that I can. Yeah, we're an hour in. I'm going to be able to say this no problem. So The Rock. It's about these. It's about these. Evil doers who are coming up with like their own evil, nefarious inventions, like a freeze ray and a shrink ray.
It's the schemes from like the Minions or Despicable Me movies, those
Yeah,
types of
yeah.
schemes.
And then The Rock comes in and says, "Yes, so I have created a child molesting robot." And they're all like, "What? you you made a robotic sex predator?" It's like, yes, you get it. Yeah, this guy's with me. No, I'm not.
Oh,
And I mean, they're like, "How do you?" It's like, The Rock says, and the thing is he is very efficient, so he can actually molest twice the children, and quite honestly, half the time. Like, what's wrong with you? How do you even make a child molesting robot? It's a good question. You start off by making a regular robot, and then you molest it and hope it continues the cycle.
so terrible.
It's
Uh,
and then
but that's the point. If you're gonna
yeah,
be evil, be evil. Yeah.
yeah. It's
Um,
like you made a freeze ray. I went in a different direction for the assignment.
yeah. Is that Bobby Moynihan playing the?
Yes.
Yeah, Bobby
Yeah.
he's very underrated. I think
Uh,
he's very funny.
Bobby Moynihan is in my honorable mentions.
Yeah,
Pretty much in any of my favorite skits, he's always present.
yeah,
And I mean, he's got the is my little kitty cat with his milk. And then yes, not Moynihan. It's my last name is not Moynihan. For
yeah,
those of you wondering.
yeah.
But and then I think the thing is this is one of those skits that you don't. How do you end this skit?
Right.
And so it's just like, oh, why don't I, let's break for lunch and we can go across the street to the restaurant, the medieval themed restaurant with the miniature beef sandwiches. It's a White Castle. Just say White Castle. And then it turns out that the entire thing is just a White Castle commercial.
Which White Castle could not have been happy about.
We'll serve anybody.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
my number 4 is Jingleheimer Junction.
this almost made my list.
I love it so much. So I actually I showed this to my cousin Malachi yesterday, and so he's used to like Debbie Downer, who's a character that's like recurring skits and whatnot, and he's like, did they ever do more of these? And I'm like, no, but honestly, I don't know what else you do with this. I think
Yeah.
this is the perfect skit, and you don't do anything else with it.
Yeah. Unless you're
Uh,
just doing other words, and you've already done
Yeah.
that skit, and so
Yeah, you've already done the worst word.
yeah, yeah,
um, but you have Roberto, Unity, uh, Katie Kindness, Cindy Caring, and they have a new friend, Fred Friendship,
yeah.
and they all have their first letter of their name on their shirts. Um, and the only person who realizes the uh, trouble that they could get in is Tim Meadows as Jingleheimer Joe. And I mean, it's
This
just so funny.
this is another one. It's so dangerous to do live.
I know.
If one person just steps out of place or misses their cue, you're in a lot of trouble.
So I here's the thing. I've gotten so I've gone through like at 25% speed, like just
Mhm.
trying to see if like the sensor missed something for even a second. There's one point they get so close.
Yeah, yeah, they do.
And then I will say one thing. Um, they sing a song at the end about well about what they're trying to spell. Uh, and Cameron Diaz is Katie Kindness, and so she does like a little sexy dance. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I'm like, okay, so she's singing poorly. Is she doing that on purpose, or can she just not sing? It's hard to tell.
Yeah,
um,
I'm trying to remember if she sang in The Mask or not, or if that was all lip syncing. I'm trying to
I
remember.
I think that was all lip syncing.
Yeah,
Especially if it was the '90s, that's what they would have
yeah,
done. Um,
because she wasn't even a star yet when that happened.
yeah.
So
Um, so yeah, I mean this is one of my favorites, and once again, this is I mean Tim Meadows, like I said, just he's phenomenal. I
yeah.
think he's one of their best straight men, but
Hmm.
also the ladies' man. With to me, a good date is taking out a lady and getting her a nice fish sandwich. um, but yeah, I love Tim Meadows, and I what I think is funny is in this Will Ferrell's kind of playing Buddy the Elf, uh, like very family friendly type character, but he's the catalyst for spelling out the F word. um, but yeah, so my number three, and I think this is if we're talking about like the best skit in the past 15 years, it has to be Close Encounter, right? Um,
Oh yeah, yeah. It's especially the one about the dogs, where she
yeah,
goes to dog heaven.
right.
That
Um,
punchline at the end, that's like old Carol Burnett style humor. It's a
yeah.
great one.
um, so for me, if I had to pick one, I'd just pick the original. Because I mean, like, I don't think we really realized how funny Kate McKinnon is until this.
Hmm.
Um, for those who don't know, you should. I mean, they are all on YouTube. You know, we were talking about some of these skits that are nowhere on the internet. Every single one of the Close Encounter skits are on YouTube.
Hmm.
So it's just about the government getting these three people who are it's Cecily Strong, Ryan Gosling, and um, Kate McKinnon, who were abducted by aliens. And Cecily Strong and Ryan Gosling kind of got the holy treatment. They they were shown their entire life. They really they got the arrival treatment. That's what it is. It's just something that's extremely life changing, and their outlook on the world is different. And then you got Kate McKinnon who's smoking a cigarette. Is like, Yeah, I kind of got a different experience. They had me just sitting in a chair, and they were just kind of lightly batting my knockers one at a time. They're like, "Did you feel threatened?" No, they were real respectful about it. It was like they had a line. They walk up, hit a knocker, then head to the back of the line. Well, maybe they were doing some sort of experiment. No, this felt super off the books. In fact, there was definitely one of those gray big head guys that was keeping watch over by the door. And the whole time, you have A.D. Bryant and Bobby Moynihan. They're trying not to break. You have Cecily Strong, who is, keeping her composure. And then you have Ryan Gosling, who is just, I mean, he is too far gone. He can barely do the skit. It's amazing. And then, my mom, she even quotes this as a, uh, yeah, I think I already said this earlier, but yeah, they had me what's another one? Uh, they had a. I think I already said my coot coot and my prune shoot. They had so many different ones.
She has hundreds of them.
Yeah,
It's
she has like
crazy.
hundreds of them. It's so funny.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, Close Encounter is just it's so legendary that even though Kate McKinnon is not on the show anymore, Ryan Gosling did SNL for Barbie when it came out.
Yeah.
They got Kate back for another Close Encounter.
Yeah. I've been noticing that lately. They keep bringing back older, like Maya Rudolph and stuff for skits, or
Oh,
Dana Carvey,
it's
and
because their new people aren't funny.
yeah, yeah. I've been noticing that a lot, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't say much for your current
Yeah,
cast.
yeah. The only one that I find funny, and I don't even think he's that funny because I just think he's got one character that's funny. Is I can't remember his name, but he's the Asian one. Um,
Oh, yeah, I know you're talking about.
but Bowen Yang is his name.
Yeah,
Bowen Yang, and really, I don't think he's that funny. I just think that his Rick Santos is really funny because
I like Charlie Day on there. I do like him, but
yeah,
other than that, yeah, they're not.
Charlie Day,
What's his name?
Mikey Day,
Mikey Day. Mikey Day.
yeah,
See, I
Charlie
like
Day
him.
is It's Always Sunny.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, even though Mikey Day, I mean, he's one of those that he's actually been on the cast probably since I was a kid, but he is. I think now that like their heavy hitters are gone, now he's getting his due.
Hmm.
Um, because actually, I think Mikey Day is Matt Shat. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, so they brought her back for Close Encounter. My number two, I love digital shorts. And me and my friends, we all love Lonely Island. We watch the movie. We sing their songs. The one that we do at karaoke is Jack Sparrow
Of course.
with Michael Bolton.
Yeah.
It is so funny, and it's actually like a really good song too. But it's really funny because like so the conceit of the whole thing is this is just a really hard rap song. Like, we're gonna go to the club, we're gonna get some girls, we're gonna oh, it's gonna be dope. And Michael Bolton's like, hey, have you guys seen the Pirates of the Caribbean movies? I just had a marathon. They're really good. And so then whenever they get to the chorus, he's like, this is the tale of Captain Jack Sparrow. And like he keeps going through movies like uh, uh, Forrest Gump and Aaron Brockovich, and the only time that they're like, okay, that's close enough, is whenever he does Scarface.
Mhm.
Is like, you can call me Scarface, snorting mountains of cocaine. Ah, close enough. I mean, this is just one of my favorites. I love it so much. And they actually did this live one time. It was really funny. Like, The thing is Michael Bolton still plays this song. Like there was a Netflix special that Michael Bolton had a couple years ago, and he did like a piano version of this song, like just because.
That's incredible.
It's one of those. So I'm a big fan of Office Space. So I've always found Michael Bolton like funny because of the character Michael Bolton in Office Space. And so like there's a part of me that's like, oh, I hate Michael Bolton because but at the same time I'm like, I also love Michael Bolton and I respect Michael Bolton because like he recognizes that Jack Sparrow is like one of the funniest things he's ever done.
He also has a funny moment in Teen Titans Go to the movie where he comes out and sings the inspirational song.
Really? I never saw. I've always wanted to see that because I know people actually have really liked that movie, even people who don't like Teen Titans Go. So I've always wanted to see it. I just never got around to it. So.
He does this big, they're feeling down. He sings a song about being happy, and this is your inspirational, generic '80s song, and he's singing it. And then I think they hit him with their car or something. That's great. That's a funny movie.
Yeah. And so number one, I love Weekend Update. I love Stefan's club reviews. I love joke swaps. Joke swaps are this thing that it took him 45 years to come up with, but for Christmas every year and for season finales every year, Jost and Shay write each other jokes that they've never seen before, and they have to say them live on air. And so Jost just kind of gets Shay to say, oh, Shay has a small penis. Oh, yeah. Shay gets Colin to say the most vile and repugnant racist things on air. And it is so funny.
Yeah.
I didn't send this one to you, but there is one where Shay actually gets like a historical civil rights activist who's still alive to sit next to Colin while he says the stuff.
Yeah, I saw a clip of it. Yeah.
Okay. And then I think the Black Superman joke. I mean, that's just the classic. It's Warner Brothers is coming out with a movie where Superman is black, and it makes a lot of sense when you realize that Superman was also abandoned by his parents as a baby.
Yeah.
The Man of Steel, spelled Steal. It's classic. Now, there are times where Jost actually gets one in. I think one of my favorites is where he gets Shay to say about the police officers, "Good going, boys. That's right. You keep doing your thing. Nobody is a bigger supporter of the police than Mikey Shay." And I know that I'm going to offend people by saying this, but blue lives matter even more.
Yeah.
And there's one where he this was actually relevant because of last week at the Super Bowl. He has one where he has Shay just call out the biggest bitch of them all, Kendrick Lamar. It's like your beef with Drake is ending, but beef with old Michael Shay is just beginning. Oh man, and it's hilarious. And then I'm not gonna say this one, but I'm gonna send this one to you eventually. This most recent joke swap. They had Scarlett Johansson watching this, which, if you don't know, Colin Jost is married to Scarlett Johansson.
Right.
And he says he has Colin say possibly the most vulgar, dirty joke I've ever seen on SNL. Like, it is insane, and it's so funny. In fact, he was on I think it was on like Seth Meyers or something like that. After that aired, because that was their season finale,
Mhm.
and he's like, yeah, I think you think you got in trouble with Scarlett about that one, and he's like, I think I got in trouble with a lot of people on that one. But yeah, I mean, it is joke swaps are a classic. I don't know how it took them 45 years to come up with that. I think the reason that it took them 45 years is because, and I'll say it again, I think these are the two Weekend Update co-hosts that genuinely are friends that hang out every day, even not talking about the show. I'm sure, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, yes, I'm sure, they're really good friends.
Mhm.
But this is a different type of friendship. It's kind of like how Zach Braff and Donald Faison are still friends after Scrubs after 20 years. That's going to
Mhm.
be Jost and Shay in 20 years.
Yep, I can see
Uh,
that.
yeah. So, uh,
So, Saturday Night Live, it's been around for 50 years. Those were some of our favorite skits.
yeah.
Tell us what your favorite skits are down below. Make sure you hit the
Uh,
like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff.
oh, did you want to talk about? We had one
Oh,
more.
we have one more. I forgot. Favorite
Yeah.
hosts.
Yeah. So, and I just put them on one slide because it's just two people, and we've talked a little bit about each of them so far. But yeah. Is there anything about Tom Hanks that you haven't mentioned?
I mean, he's been hosting this, I guess, since the 80s, recurring host, and we've seen it through different eras of his career. And, you know, I don't like the, what's his name? The pumpkin character he does. I'm talking about? One
Yeah,
of-
I don't know the name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, like I'm not a big fan of that, but I know that a lot of other people think that's the funniest character he's ever done. So different strokes for different folks, whatever. But yeah, I mean, he's just been one of those legendary actors that always comes back and really funny every time he's on there.
Yeah, and Ryan Gosling. Those of you who don't know, I'm actually a huge Ryan Gosling fan in general. I love Crazy Stupid Love. I love The Nice Guys and Blade Runner 2049. Um, Ryan, whenever I break down some of my favorite skits, like we talk about our top five. If I'm talking about like my top 10, top 20, Ryan Gosling is in a lot of them.
Hmm.
Um, because I love Papyrus. Have you seen that one?
Papyrus. I don't know if I have or not.
Papyrus is where he has this conspiracy theory, and it's a movie trailer, where his character has a conspiracy that the logo for James Cameron's Avatar is just papyrus. Like they typed out the word Avatar in the
Yes,
word.
I have seen that. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I have. Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's
yeah.
that one. Of course, I love Close Encounters as well. And then most recently, the Beavis and Butthead thing was just so funny. Did you see that one?
Yes, of course. It was
Yeah.
everywhere. You couldn't
Yeah.
miss it.
And I think Mikey Day was Butthead. Actually, now that I
Yeah.
mention it.
Yep.
So yeah, it was like now he looked like Butthead. Please don't call our audiences Buttheads. Nah, he's Beavis's friend. But
Yeah,
yeah, so
there's a lot of skits we did not mention, like the Californians and the yeah,
apparently
California.
they did a big California things Californians thing last night.
I
I still
saw the
haven't
new
watched.
Volkswagen commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Um,
Fred Armisen, he's also up there as in my honorable mentions. I love Fred Armisen. Uh,
Cowbell we didn't mention. I mean, there's so many funny
yeah.
ones that
I feel like that we both knew that everybody knows Cowbell, so we didn't feel the need to mention it.
yeah,
So
yeah. So yeah, please list the ones we missed down below. And again, we're trying to grow this channel, so share it with your friends and family and people you don't know and all that fun stuff. And next week we'll be returning to comic books, talking about the Red Hulk, whose movie came out this weekend and didn't get great reviews, but we'll talk about that next week.
yeah, I think we're
So
going to see it on a Tuesday, so I might have some things to say as well.
okay, awesome. So until next time, I've been Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
We'll catch you next time in the Shark Pond.
See ya.